All right. So before we go into our discussions proper, let's bring you some information, stories rather, that we are reporting at this time.
Now, the face-off between the National Judicial Council and the federal government continues on the fate of the recently arrested judges. Lawyers across the country remain divided on the propriety of investigation and arrest of the judges.
The debate took center stage at the 14th anniversary of the annual lecture of human rights advocacy group Crusade for Justice. Political correspondent Ayodele Ozubakun was there for TVC.
Reaction to the pre-dawn arrest of some judicial officers, including 2 justices of the Supreme Court for alleged corrupt practices. While some supported their action, others rose against the Gestapo style of the DSS in arresting judges. The Crusade for Justice in its 14th annual lecture with a theme towards a corrupt-free and egalitarian society. The change starts with leadership. The event had lawyers, civil rights activists, and representatives of several non-governmental organizations. The guest speaker, Abiodun Owonikoko, SAN, spoke on the role of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission and the Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission, ICPC, and other agencies in the fight against corruption in Nigeria. Lawyers were divided on the recent clampdown on alleged corrupt judges by the Secret State Police. Babatunde Ogala and Adesina Ogunlana, lawyers, supported the recent clampdown and the effort to clean up the judiciary by the federal government.
Judges should recuse themselves. It's even embarrassing that we are reading their statements in the media. Again, another unprecedented step. And some have accused DSS, EFCC of doing media trial, but the judges have also exposed themselves, and you could see people picking holes in their statements. I also read of one of the judges who got to court and was asking an accused or a defendant before him in a criminal trial, asking questions like, did I collect bribe from you? Have I demanded bribe from you? Which I find a little bit of very infantile.
I've heard the Chief Justice of Nigeria saying that it's tantamount to intimidation of the judiciary. I beg to disagree, with due respect, with the Chief Justice of Nigeria. Only about 7 officers, judicial officers, were affected, and we have more than 2,500 judges, magistrates all over the country. Before then, about 4 or 5 very senior military officers were taken in by the EFCC, and there was no talk about the military being intimidated.
Richard Nwako, the convener of the event, and Ikechukwu Kedi advised the federal government to desist from media trial.
This fight is what we are condemning, because we believe that they have gone beyond the provisions of the law. They have debased the provisions of the fundamental rights which these people enjoy. And you must also appreciate the fact that under the same law, under the same constitution, that they are presumed innocent. What is going on is an orchestrated media trial. We will want to see
media trial.
It's a media trial that is going on, and that is why some of them are reacting through the media.
Again, the example was also given of a situation where the executive has issues with trying to control other arms of government. Whereas the 3 arms of government are equal under the Constitution. So where the executive is carrying it upon itself to fight corruption, and that it is the beacon of the fight against corruption.
The Crusade for Justice prides itself as being at the forefront of constructive activism. Ayodele Ozubakun, TVC News, Lagos.
Well, as far as this issue is concerned, lawyers don't seem to agree. They don't seem to be on the same page across the country.
We've not heard the end of the matter, and I don't think that will happen anytime soon, really.
Well, all of this make our laws more robust, because there are interpretations to all of this. But others will argue to say, well, the Constitution has to be very specific when it comes to how they should be done, when they should be done, and with whom, as the case may be. Even though everyone is equal before the law, but the Constitution has to be a little more specific.
Indeed.
All right, let's start off with our first big story. Recently, the Nigeria Police Force Complaint Response Unit, the CRU, said it had recorded 2.7 million bribe money from an assistant commissioner of police. Name withheld, I must say, serving in one of the...
that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
We'd like to know who that assistant commissioner of police is.
Yeah, but the point there is, one way or the other, someone would say, well, it's an internal issue of the police for a certain time because there are issues of ethics for a period of time. And then by the time investigation is made to a certain level, then it's made public.
Then the judge's name shouldn't have been announced on the pages of the newspapers that they were arrested.
Well, the judges, that you must see from a different perspective. You know, even amongst lawyers, they are arguing it also. Well, the said police were serving in one of the state commands. Now, this is contained in the third quarter report of the unit signed by its commander. Now, the bribe money was recovered from the Assistant Commissioner of Police after the case was referred to the ex-court for necessary action in line with the directive issued by the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris.
He said that the unit had resolved 324 cases out of the 405 it received from members of the public against the police between July and September this year. That's what we'll be looking at this morning, and we'll examine how the police has been able to handle its own crime reports.
All right, let's make you. Let me take you to my wall now to give you a perspective to all of this. Now, let me go to my wall.
Indeed.
All right, here we are. Well, it's quite some time I've been to this wall, but it's really interesting, I must say. Now, let's start out this way. Now, let's talk about crime in Nigeria. I'm sure you will be expecting the usual rape, kidnapping, armed robbery, 419 or advance fee fraud, as we call it here in Nigeria, pickpocketing, cybercrime, car theft, human trafficking, and lots more. Those are some of the major crimes committed in Nigeria, but then there's more to all of this issue. Now, let's move ahead now to see. All right, now, crime itself starts with the police, who are law enforcement agents, and the police remain the major source for crime statistics in Nigeria. Yet, the police also have a record of alleged and confirmed criminal offenses traced to them. Now, that probably explains why the police established the Complaint Response Unit. All right. That's the foundation. We have joining us now the Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of the Complaint Response Unit, Abayomi Shogunle, joining us from Abuja. Abayomi, good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
All right.
Good morning, Nigeria.
And good to see you.
Okay. All right. Certainly, it's good to see you. And then we have also in the studio a security expert, Okechukwu Nwagoma. He has been. He is the national coordinator of the network
on police reform.
Of police reform, exactly. Network on police reform. Thank you very much, Okechukwu, for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right. Now, let me before we go into the discussions proper, let's quickly look at the statistics of complaints that you have recorded in the third quarter of 2016. Let's get on with this. Now, a total of about 405 complaints were made in the quarter under review. Rivers State has the highest number of complaints rate, and that is 78, making up 19.26%, followed by Lagos with 72 complaints to make up 17.78%, and then Abuja 48, making up 11.85%. Anambra State recorded 25 complaints with a total of 6.17%, and Akwa Ibom with 23 complaints, making up 5.68%. Now, let me hold it there. I want to start from Okechukwu in the studio before we go to Abuja. Now, you have been monitoring these responses all the while as to complaints from the people. Would you say, comparative to how things used to be, is there an increase in complaints or is there a reduction in complaints?
Okay, let me start by saying that, repeat what I said here, sometime, that the establishment of the Complaints Response Unit is a welcome development, is one right step in the right direction taken by the immediate past Inspector General of Police to address public complaints and discipline management in the Nigeria Police. It's a shift from the old order where we had mechanisms within the police that didn't serve the interests of the public. People, send complaints and they don't get to have them resolved, and then culture of cover-up. But I think that this CRU is a shift in the sense that it's decentralized. That it reports directly to the IG, and you see a situation where you send complaints and you get at least some acknowledgement that your complaint has been received. But there was apprehension, whether the current IG was going to retain this platform, which has helped to, which has actually offered an alternative platform for citizens. But my worry is that, and we have, as an organization that, documents human cases, receive public complaints on a daily basis and documents cases of abuse. Our experience is that, yes, in some cases, we have sent complaints on behalf of citizens. In some cases, we receive acknowledgement. In other cases, we don't receive acknowledgement. But in no single case have we received any feedback as to how these complaints were finally, disposed.
Resolved. Okay.
We don't get to know whether even the complainants that we have, acted on their behalf have not been able to know whether the complaints they made were resolved. Of course, we have had we've seen the report by the CRU. Some cases have been resolved, some were not through, some are pending. But for those ones that were resolved, who are these people? What happened to them? The complainants,
that's a big question.
Are they not entitled to know? Because the ones we've sent, we've not had any.
That's how they're going to find justice.
Yeah, sure. So for me...
But from your perspective, has the number increased, the complaints, have they increased or they have reduced? Between the last time you were here and now? From
the report by the CRU, they said there is a drop in complaints. But for us...
They said. What do you say?
No, for us, we keep receiving complaints. It hasn't, necessarily dropped. And for me, if it has dropped on their own part, it may not necessarily be that the police are becoming more professional. And I say, it could be that people are beginning to lose confidence, because people also complain about their not being able to get feedback about how the complaints they gave were resolved.
All right, should we bring Abayomi in here now?
I think we should.
Okay, Abayomi, you'd like to respond to this? That's your very first shot this morning. Good, the unit is there. Good, you get complaints from people, but how are they resolved? Nigerians want to know.
Thank you very much. Good morning.
Good morning.
Once again.
Good morning.
As stated in the report, the data we're gathering shows a significant reduction in numbers of complaints against the police. And to the very best of our knowledge at CRU, we are resolving cases as they come in. And we do get regular feedbacks from even the persons that have complained. And in most cases, over 50% of the cases we receive in CRU are resolved within 24 hours. Then let me also state that CRU is the first of its kind by any police organization in sub-Saharan Africa. There is nobody, there is no where we are copying what we are doing from. And as a part of the measures to improve the services of CRU, through the support being given by the Office of the Vice President, we are developing a mechanism whereby we can measure the level of satisfaction from members of the public. That is performance, what I call performance indicators. So we believe by the time these are fully developed before the end of this year and they are deployed, then we're going to have more improvements regarding the way we resolve cases.
All right, Abayomi, let me ask you precisely. You have said that the number of complaints have dropped. Can you tell us the reason why this number has dropped? Because Okechukwu in the studio said, well, it could likely also be that Nigerians are losing confidence, so they feel, well, we send complaints in and we don't get responses, so what's the point?
Based on the records, based on the records we're getting at CRU, we believe that the drastic reduction in numbers of complaints against the police is due to the fact that police officers are becoming more professional in the performance of their duty, and this is linked to a series of capacity building programs that the police leadership is carrying on. And one evidence to this is, even when we check the frequency of negative reports against the police or about the police in the media, it's a fact that it has dropped drastically compared to what we used to have in the past, like 2-3 years ago, even last year, where almost on a daily basis, once you tune into one news channel or the other, or you open the pages of newspapers, we're going to see negative reports against the police. But currently, you would agree with me that the frequency of negative stories about the police has dropped as well, monitoring both electronics and the different platform. So we want to believe that this reduction is due to the fact that police officers are becoming more professional. And police officers are also aware that dissatisfaction from members of the public can be reported to the police authority in real time, and actions and sanctions are taken in proven cases.
Okay. All right, Abayomi, we'll come back to you on this. I'm still on my wall, so let's get on with I was giving you statistics earlier on. River State has the highest number of complaints, followed by Lagos State, followed by Abuja, and then Anambra State and Akwa Ibom State as the first top 5. Let's move on now. Now, the following states: Sokoto State, Zamfara State, Kebbi State, Katsina State, Jigawa State, Bauchi State, as well as Osun State did not have any record of complaints at all. And that's one of the reasons why I like to ask Abayomi. Well, Abayomi, before I come to you, Okechukwu, I know you have responses to this, but Abayomi, we have these states from the record you have given, the police has given out. Sokoto State and some few states in the north didn't have any complaint at all. What could be, is it, you give us some reasons why, but we expect to hear at least, if it's not a complaint, but something, but there's no record at all from there. What could be the reason why?
There are different factors responsible for this. You know, part of this we also want to believe has to do with the literacy level in Nigeria. The UNESCO statistics shows that over 50% of Nigerians are illiterate. That is, they cannot read or write in English. And that's one of the reasons why the Inspector General of Police, IGP Ibrahim Idris, has approved that CRU leaflets be translated into local languages. So in the coming days, probably from next week, we're going to have a set of massive sensitization campaign which would be flagged off at the force headquarters by the Inspector General of Police, IGP Ibrahim Idris, and we intend to distribute translated CRU flyers to all the local government areas across the country. These are going to be translated into the major languages, that is Hausa, Igbo, and Yoruba, and we're also going to have it in Pidgin English. And let me still add this again, that going through even media reports, we're going to see that we have not been seeing negative reports about the police from the states you have mentioned. And of particular interest to the CRU is Kebbi State, where since the inception of CRU, we are yet to record one single case against the police. And since there is nothing to the contrary to show that it has nothing to do with the level of professionalism of the police officers in those states, then we want to believe and take it as such that the zero report from those states is linked to the fact that the police officers in those states are more professional in performing their duties.
All right, Abayomi, without preempting our next slides, the modes of complaint, how those complaints are recorded, most of them are elitist, WhatsApp messages, BlackBerry, phone calls. To an extent, that means we need to type. So do you think the problem is just translating those leaflets, the messages alone, for people to understand? Would you make your mode of relating those complaints more people-friendly?
All right, I think before Abayomi answers that question, let's go out on TVC Entertainment. Viewers there can continue with the program on Concert Channel 190. That's where TVC is on the breakfast, and DSTV Channel 418.
Okay, GoTV it is 45 and SCTV 510. Let's continue the breakfast there.
Exactly. All right, if you're just joining us, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and on this segment, we are looking at the Police Complaint Response Unit, the CRU as it's called, and we are analyzing complaints from people against the police. But from the reports we've gotten, the magnitude or volume of complaints have dropped. And, well, someone would say commendation, because we heard from Abayomi Shogunle, who is with us from our Abuja studio, saying that, well, the police is becoming more professional. They are becoming more following the ethics of what it means than it used to be. But Okechukwu in the studio, well, say it could likely be that, on the other hand, when complaints are made, and they don't get to know what actually happens to those complaints, they lose confidence in the system. So that could mean that that could be one of the reasons why the numbers are dropping. But certainly as we get along, we'll be talking about this to have a perspective on this. Now, you were asking a question to Abayomi earlier before we went
Yes, Mr. Shogunle, the question is, do you think translating the messages to the three major languages in Nigeria is the problem, or perhaps make your mode of relaying those complaints more people-friendly?
Well, all the actions or interventions were taken at CRU, they are evidence-based and they are scientific-based. You know, if we look at the prevailing circumstances as of today, what is the best way to interact one-on-one with citizens, with members of the public? I think the best available platforms are technological driven. And those are part of the things we also put into consideration while developing CRU. The means of reporting, you can use phone call. Phone call is already part of daily activities of Nigerians. The NCC statistics shows that we have over 140 million active phone lines in Nigeria. You can also send text messages or WhatsApp. So imagine sending a text message which will cost you 4 naira, and it will receive the attention of the Inspector General of Police. You can also send BlackBerry messengers, and you can also send complaints through the social media. The youths are more active on the social media. We are making use of the Facebook and Twitter. And you can also send your complaints through email. By all records, these are the most effective ways of sending messages. Gone are the days where you need to go into a suggestion box. Probably you have to travel several kilometers to drop your petition in a suggestion box, or probably you have to use postal services, which takes some days or weeks before it gets to the recipients. And checking police complaint mechanism from around the world, even in the most advanced countries like the NYPD, the New York Police Department still have one of the most effective complaint mechanism in the United States of America, but they are still not deployed the platforms that we have deployed in CRU. For you to complain against an NYPD officer, is either you send an email, and in most cases it takes even 3-4 days before they respond to you. Whereas here in Nigeria, you make a complaint and immediately you get a response.
Yes.
And you even have a tracking number. And all the cases we have stated that has been resolved, we have communicated the resolution, how the cases were resolved to the people making the complaint. And the CRU is an open platform where members of the public or interested persons can even monitor the progress of cases made against the police to the police.
All right, Abayomi, the point there is, according to Mike, the point there is that the issue is illiteracy. So if you don't get complaints from this part of the divide, the northern part of the divide, and you mentioned yourself that the level of illiteracy, that was why the question came up. You said we're going to translate those messages so that the people can read them. But beyond reading them, how many of them can type to you in WhatsApp, for instance? How many of them have access to phones with WhatsApp, for instance? How many of them can send emails to you, for instance?
Sending emails, sending WhatsApp messages are just one of the platforms. Remember, we also have the numbers to call. You can make phone calls. And if we look at the reports we have released, we're going to see that phone calls actually constitute the highest number of means that people are using. In fact, the least of it is even the BBM, which has about, I think, 1 or 2 cases and emails. But phone call constitute one of the highest. And research has also shown that people, members of the public, are more confident when they communicate with the police in their local dialect, in their mother tongue. And that's why we are also posted agents in CRU who can speak the major languages, and we take complaints even in the local language. So when you are making a complaint, you don't need to communicate to us in English, for instance. You can communicate in your local language because people feel more confident in the police when they relate or communicate with the police in their local languages.
All right, that's an area. I'm going to ask Okechukwu now. Well, when it comes to the issue of the 3 major languages, someone from Benue State or someone from Edo State, for instance, is going to say, well, I don't speak Yoruba, I don't speak Igbo, I don't speak Hausa. So how is my interest covered as far as that is concerned? If I am in the village of Igede, for instance, or speaking Igede or speaking Igala or speaking Idoma or Tiv, how would that cover me? But that's fine. Well, Okechukwu, you were disagreeing to some extent. I saw you shaking your head when Bayomi was talking about the responses and all of that.
Well, first of all, I agree with him on the fact that the CRU, provides a variety, of platforms for citizens to send complaints. And then again, I also agree with him on the score that these states where you have higher numbers of complaints are more cosmopolitan, with more literate and active citizens, and then there's a higher level of awareness. When I was here the last time, I talked about the fact that not so many Nigerians are aware of the existence of the CRU. And that I actually went to the office in Ikeja, and I couldn't get a single leaflet. And I remember he promised that he was going to, address that. I'm happy that he's still, And then talking about media not reporting negative things about the police, I guess he's talking about the traditional media.
Okay.
There's a sense in which the media can become fatigued in reporting cases when they become rampant. When every day we see cases of extortion, all sorts of abuse, and they become so common that they become the norm, that they no longer become news.
No longer news.
But when you move away to the social media, you see these cases every day. A surface of cases are reported in the social media. So I think that the reporting has shifted from, and then I also think that there is, the merging of the X squad with the CRU, I think it presents some problem in my view, because the X squad has always been there. And those in the CRU, the former IG told us that they were people, carefully selected and trained specifically to, to deal with public complaints. Now, when you bring people from X squad to mix them up with CRU, there's a way you can compromise the CRU, because a lot of these people are people, I don't know whether they have also received the training that the people originally, who originally sent to the CRU have received. So there's need to be careful not to compromise the CRU. And I need to, reiterate the point that yes, the CRU is a good development. It's an indication that the police is ready to address impunity, but there is need to ensure that when people send complaints, they also receive information about how they are resolved. Now, when CRU, started, and I did say that here, as soon as you send any complaint, you automatically receive, an acknowledgement. But these days, that response, it has reduced. I'm saying this because we test the CRU every day. I'm not just talking from, we test CRU every day. We no longer receive these things as promptly as we used to. Sometimes it takes a whole day for you to receive. And of course, that is where it ends. It is not difficult. I have no reason to doubt that the reports that the CRU has released, that but we need to be able to verify. For instance, who is this ACP, who has been handed over to the X squad for demanding 2.5. How are we sure that he's going to be subjected to appropriate discipline? Is there a provision? Is there room for the complainant to even give evidence in the course of trying this man within the internal
system,
the disciplinary system? These are the issues that the CRU needs to address.
Okay. Well, I guess Shogunle is listening, and he's going to look for a way of handling that. Now, certainly, these are I'll show you the different sources that you can reach the police: the Twitter, BBM, and calls, and WhatsApp messages, and Twitter, and on Facebook, as the case may be. Let's move on. But there are other questions begging for answers. First, if the Nigeria Police Force is aware that its officers are corrupt, then something must be amiss. How well paid are these officers, and what makes them different from other Nigerians or other civil servants? Let's break it down here. Now, an average civil servant in Nigeria earns 18,000 naira as minimum wage, and that is just the basic salary. In some organizations, workers get other allowances like housing. They earn 18,000 naira. They get transport allowances, they get feeding allowance, they get housing allowance. Now, there are other organizations, depending on what ministry and what parastatal, who get other kind of allowances here and there. And their salaries, and this applies to police officers too. So why are they not satisfied? Someone would ask that question. Sometimes they even earn special allowances to add up to their salary, depending on the risks involved and all that. That's a big question. I'm going to ask Shogunle. Shogunle, let me ask you this question. When it comes to remuneration and satisfaction or motivation of the Nigeria police, how well paid or how well remunerated is the Nigeria police for him not to look the other way as to doing anything that falls short of the ethics of the police?
One thing that is a fact is police officers in Nigeria will receive our salaries as at when due in the month. And if you ask any worker, all workers, irrespective of their of the sector or their profession, they always tell you that their salaries are not enough. That is another fact. But regarding specifically the Nigerian Police Force, the police leadership under the Inspector General of Police, IGP Ibrahim Idris, is doing what it's ensuring all necessary measures to ensure that the issues you have raised are properly addressed. You know, the issue of increment in salaries and so on are beyond the police, but the IGP is doing what it takes to ensure that all those are addressed. But let's look at the issue of housing, for instance. We have a police mortgage bank where police officers can get houses and the payment is spread over a period of up to like 30 years. We also have the Police Cooperative Society, which is giving soft loans to police officers. We also have police secondary schools, police children's schools, where wards and children of police officers are paying, the school fees they are paying is very subsidized compared to what is applicable in educational sector generally. So the issue of welfare is a recurring decimal that will always come up, not only in the police, but generally amongst the workforce, and the needed action is being taken by the police leadership.
Okay, by all standards, from what you mentioned now, to an extent, even the Nigerian police fare more than some other civil servants. Some of them don't even have the opportunity of getting their children's school fees subsidized or their house allowances subsidized, but the Nigerian police get that. So the big question is, why are they still corrupt?
The issue of corruption is a national problem. It's a national problem, and we'll see that part of the intentions of the present administration is to fight corruption to a standstill. And if we look at the different recoveries, mind-boggling recoveries that are being made, none of the people involved are police officers. But the Nigerian police force is taking the lead by ensuring that our officers live up to expectation, are professional. And the Nigerian police force will not condone any act of corruption by any of its officers. In the report we are reading, we see the recovery of 2.7 million naira from an assistant commissioner of police. And let me state that one of the best things to happen to CRU is the inclusion of ex-squad as responding officers as approved by the Inspector General of Police, IGP Ibrahim Idris. Inclusion of ex-squad means that sting operations will be carried out immediately, and also means that in side by side with disciplinary measures being taken, criminal investigation are also going on, and where proven criminal cases are established, that means we could see prosecution in cases. So the inclusion of escort is one of the best things that has ever happened to the Complaint Response Unit, the CRU. As far as the Nigerian Police Force is concerned, there is no place for corrupt officers in the Nigerian Police Force, and I wish other agencies, other government agencies, other private agencies can take a cue from the Nigerian Police Force as regards the fight against corruption internally.
Okay, Abayomi, we're going to come back to that. Let's try to round off what we're doing here on my wall. Now, recently, where he mentioned a cash sum of about 2,750,000 naira bribe money from an assistant commissioner of police was recovered in one of the state commands following a complaint received through a telephone call to the CRU and subsequent referral to the X-Squad for investigation. Well, he just talked about that. Now, that's basically what's on my wall. But let me come to you on this before I ask Okechukwu questions. Tell us about the kind of challenges the CRU faces, especially when it comes to interferences or any kind of challenges that makes them function.
The major challenges we face in CRU has to do with technology. You know, the Nigerian Police Force, we don't run our network. We don't run we are not a network provider, so we rely on services provided by the network, the various network. So sometimes at the CRU center, we do experience network failure sometimes. And sometimes a member of the public that wants to make a report might not be able to reach the CRU because of lack of network in the area where he or she is. But regarding the issue of interference, there is no interference, internal interference whatsoever, because the CRU reports directly to the Inspector General of Police, and on regular basis, cases that comes up, the Inspector General of Police gets the brief, and the Inspector General of Police gives appropriate directives as regards the case. So no interference whatsoever within the internal system regarding CRU activities.
All right, I think we have to let him go now, but you didn't tell us the name of the Assistant Commissioner who that money was recovered for. We would like to know. Nigerians want to know. You name and shame. Perhaps that would be a better approach. Well, we thank you for your time and your thoughts this morning on TVC Breakfast, Mr. Bayomi Shogunle. Many thanks. We still have you with us.
Yes, I was going to respond before he goes. I wanted him to hear, because a lot of junior police officers that we interact with on a daily basis feel that senior police officers do the service to them when they come, you know, on the media and say that, you know, everything is good with welfare, police officers receive their salaries as at when due. This is not true. And the truth is that poor welfare, poor pay makes the police prone to corruption and violence and abuse. It goes beyond just wages, but also allowances. Of course, it is well known that police officers, when they go on election duties, don't get their allowances. They depend on handouts from the same politicians, you know, who then compromise them. It also goes, if I tell you the number of complaints we have received from officers concerning promotion, all this border on welfare. Police officers buy their kits, their uniforms, and this is not good for, you know, a police organization that is expected to be effective and professional. There's need for a radical improvement in the welfare condition of police officers if we want to root out corruption in the police.
Okay, so he was just preparing the crack.
No, the truth is that senior police officers always come and say everything is good with welfare they receive, because, of course, if he says anything to the contrary, he will get a query. But the truth is that the welfare condition in the police is abysmal, and that is the primary reason why corruption remains prevalent in the Nigerian police. Well, promotions.
All right.
You know.
Now you have interfaced between the police and the people generally. If steps have to be taken to reform the system, what do you think those practical steps should be?
The first thing is to address the recruitment system, because it is through that compromised recruitment system that all sorts of misfits find their way into the police. A lot of people in the police are untrainable. They are untrainable. They are unsuitable to even be in the police in the first place. So the recruitment process is one. Two, the political control of the police, which is why it is difficult, because the Inspector General of Police is appointed and can be removed by the president anytime without recourse to anybody, and so he is beholden. He has no operational autonomy. He has no security of tenure. So unless the police is insulated from political control, it will be difficult for the police to be professional and effective. There are so many other, or so many other reforms, because I know that the Civil Society Panel on Police Reform did make recommendations on various aspects of, various problems plaguing the police, So these are things, I guess, we'll form a discussion for for another time.
Yeah.
It's all right. Okechukwu Nwagoma, National Coordinator of the Network on Police Reform in Nigeria. Thank you for talking to us on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you.
Thank you.